If you're ready to jump right in, go yeah in the chat group, gang. I can't really see the chat boxes here, so I hope you guys are typing in there. I'll only get to them later, but if you're excited, type yeah, and we're gonna go jumping in, okay? Now, if I may, today's session is going to be, what do you see, guys? A steep learning curve. All right, so why steep learning curve is because, if I may, many times in business, everybody, many times in business, how many of you know what I'm talking about? We almost get thrown in the deep end and we have to float and swim, if not we sink. And that's how we learn this thing called business. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Okay. If you know that, all right, then you'll appreciate the next 45 minutes, or probably 40 minutes, because I've been talking for a while now. You will appreciate that this session, my job is to help you to shorten your learning curve with the minimum cost. Because some of these things that we have to learn in business, we don't necessarily learn in books, all right? For those of you who have done MBAs and PhDs, sometimes we don't learn these things in books, but my job today is to show you those things that could shorten your learning curve, steepen it as it may, but with the minimum cost, blood, energy, sweat, sacrifice. Because sometimes when we go through the journey of business, we have to learn all that, and sometimes it's very costly. It's very costly sometimes when we invest in wrong businesses, or we invest in the wrong types of partnerships, because we're just not privy to who we are. So this session is about that. This session is about 10xing your leadership potential and your business results, and I'll show you what I mean. All of these are, if I may, what you see is a one-pager of 26 pages of what we call a AccuMatch behavior intelligence tool. So the behavior intelligence is our leadership intelligence. Those are the programs that we're using. 1 to 11 are the programs that we use to lead. From number 1, how fast we take action. Number 2, how we execute. When I say how we execute, are we executing with stable change, or are we executing rapidly? Information size, are we consuming big pieces of information, or are we consuming the detailed pieces of information? Are we motivated by moving toward an opportunity, toward a vision, or are we motivated by getting away from something? All of these, I can't cover entirely today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the power of knowing who you are. I'm going to cover parts of this leadership intelligence, so stay tuned, because that's going to show you. I'm even going to ask you, and you're going to be able to identify some parts of them yourself, okay? So very, very powerful, okay? And all those 11 programs, ladies and gentlemen, okay, are divided into 3, okay? And the 3 parts of leadership intelligence boils down to, number 1, how you execute. Executing and taking action. I think this is a no-brainer, ladies and gentlemen. There are no-brainers because in business, we need to execute, right? We need to take action. We just can't think and feel on something. We need to take action. We need to do, or we need to say, right? So number 1 is our execution, and even that, there's a style to it. Number 2 is decision making. And how many of you know what I'm talking about? In decision making, there are so many, there's so many decisions that we're making on an hourly, daily, weekly, monthly basis, even on a quarterly basis. There are just so many decisions to make. How do we make these decisions, ladies and gentlemen? Do we make the decisions considering focusing on myself or focusing on others? Am I prioritizing myself, or am I prioritizing others? Am I making this decision internally and then externally getting feedback? What is my style of decision making? Okay, so this is also programs, all right? And number 3, your learning and review. Learning and review is very, very powerful, because your learning and review is about you looking at all the things that you've experienced, and how do you take that and derive new actions. Okay, and this is important because if I learn and review in a certain shade, it creates those actions. So we also need to understand that as humans, right? So that's leadership intelligence. Okay. So as I move ahead, I'm going to take execution and taking action because that's the simplest, and also you're going to be able to take away some nitbits already. Okay. So in taking action, the speed to action, there are three different programs. The three different programs are the ones in red, and I want you to write this down. You will have the initiate program, you will have the wait program, and you'll have the reflector program. Okay. Now, what does this mean is between the initiate, taking action, kicking the door open first, waiting, all right, to see what others do. Reflecting is the consideration, people that think, all right. Now, this is important in business. Why? Because some people think too much. Their reflector is very, very high. And when it's very, very high, they have a lot of consideration. And when they have a lot of consideration, other parts of the programs will also show. Is the consideration about people, or the consideration is about details to the task? We can also see that, all right? So when the dots are integrated, okay? You can also see people that initiate too fast. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Some people take too long that they are paralyzed by analysis. And then there are some people that just initiate too quickly that they don't have enough due diligence, if they don't consider enough, all right? And then there's also another segment of people, leaders and entrepreneurs, especially business owners, with managers in your organization. When you have managers in place, all right, so likely your business is about maybe 20 to 30, 50 or 100 people. When you have a management position, a management line in place, business owners, if you are a high initiate, sometimes you need to have a bit of a wait. So if you initiate and you don't wait, you get what happened to me. You initiate and then you move forward, miles away, you turn around, crickets, nobody behind you. Okay, so sometimes, most times, and this is also the programs that I'm talking about now, are very contextual. So you need to see who is around you. If you're a micro entrepreneur, all right, and guys, some of you, there is a very good different mix inside this session right now. But if you're a micro entrepreneur, you work for yourself, then yes, high initiate, low wait, boom, you wait for nobody. But if you are in a business with a line of managers, it's really important that you also know how to integrate the wait, because otherwise you're not pacing with your team. Now, those are also programs that we can see. Really, really powerful, okay? Now then the next one. Ooh, this is a powerful one. I love this. So the next one is also in the execution category. But the two programs that we talk about here is your sameness and your difference program, okay? Sorry, yeah, and everybody okay? I just hope that I'm not going too fast. Yeah, if you're okay, just say okay, gang. All right, just want to make sure that everybody is good. All right, hang on. If you're good, just say yeah. Oops. Okay, awesome. Oh, wow, the group has grown. Okay, yeah, good. Okay, CY, Rakesh, Panch. All right, okay, good. Rakesh, okay, good. All right. I just want to make sure that I've still got everybody. Okay, let's get back to it. All righty. Okay, so if you're looking at your style of change now, there are two different programs. There's the sameness program and the difference program. If you're running a sameness program, okay, you would be someone that makes changes. I don't like to use the word slow. I use the word stable. Does that make sense? Okay. Versus somebody with a difference program. If you're running a difference program, you are somebody that makes changes more rapidly. Now, what does sameness and difference mean, gang? If you've ever played these games before, you know, when we were younger, you play those games when, you know, you see two images And of those two images, you're supposed to spot the differences. Okay, if you've played that game before, how many of you play that fast? You can spot the differences very fast. Okay, and some of you might be, oh, okay, I need to check one by one. All right. If you're slow to find the changes, that means you're running a sameness program. You're checking for everything that's the same. Does that make sense? If you're fast in that game, that means you're quick to see the differences. Okay. Now, why is that important? Is if you are in a sameness program, doesn't mean sameness is slower change, but I don't like to use the word slower. I use the word stable change. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, slow is not always bad. It's not always bad. A lot of people look at being slow, passive as bad. Now, if I may, it's not. It is neutral, because sometimes if I go too fast, what happens? If I run a difference program, I go too fast, I become rapid to rash. So if I may, the thing about sameness and difference is about knowing which program to run when. Does that make sense, guys? Now this is very important, because I'll invite you to look at the types of CEOs. If you have a sameness CEO, okay, come into a company that requires a fast turnaround, what happens to the business? He can't make those changes fast enough. If I have a high difference CEO, come into a very stable and mature FMCG business, okay? Very stable and has been around for like the last 80 years, if it's not broken, don't fix it kind, and you have a high difference come in. What happens? That CEO starts moving and shifting things around, and that could shock the system. You have a certain type of program to run in certain sizes and contexts of businesses. Similarly, if you are a startup, if you have any startup entrepreneurs in this session, if you run a startup but you're running it on a sameness program, you'll find that it's very hard to pivot. All right, and as a startup, you're probably running an app or you're building an app. You gotta pivot quickly. All right, so that's also one very, very powerful, important takeaway as you run the programs. As you notice now, gang, there's no one program that makes sense. A lot of people will say, oh, I gotta be a high difference. Be careful with that thinking, because if you're running a high difference all the time, that's where you could have some dangers, unresourcefulness, all right? And I'll get into that in a little bit, okay? The last program that I want to share here, gang, is your style, okay? Now, two programs here that are at, I would say, opposite ends, okay, is the option program and the procedure program. Okay, so some of you are the people that are like, if you're an options person, you'd be someone that's very good at troubleshooting. If I give you a problem, there and then you'll be like, oh, okay, the visa is rejected. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to implement A, implement B, and implement C. So immediately you come up with alternatives, very short term, but very quick thinking as well. So people in event spaces, all right, or if you run events, suddenly the VIP is stuck in a very, very bad traffic and you don't know what to do. Is it going to postpone your launch? You think of alternatives very, very quickly, all right? So these are the option programs, yeah. Potentially, so that's the resourcefulness of the options executor. The unresourcefulness is this person can be poor in planning. When I say poor in planning, they are people that would constantly have new ideas, all right? And sometimes that's very exhausting if you are reporting to an option CEO. Okay, if you report to an option CEO, hey, why don't we try this today? Hey, why don't we do that today? Why don't this week? Okay, we talked about this campaign last week. Okay, this week we do a whole new campaign. So that can be very exhausting. So beware if you're an options leader, but because the options leader potentially poor in planning. Why? Because they will also be the type that would say, okay, let's cross that bridge when we get there. All right, so they typically be poor with planning and the team would have to go with the flow. All right, Then we have the procedure executor. Procedure executors are people that have to execute with a procedure, all right, with steps. So these people would have a step 1, a step 2, a step 3, a step 4. So very detailed in the way they comply. They're very, very good with, if I may, I like using this example. If you've gone to IKEA before, okay, I'm sure you've gone to IKEA. And if you go to IKEA, we'll know if you're an options or a procedure person. When the furniture comes, when you drop your furniture, you get home, okay, would you be the person that would open up the parts, put them all out, and start assembling, okay, before you read the manual? Or would you be the one that reads the manual first? Okay, if you read the manual first, then you're the procedure. Okay, you read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, very, very good at complying. All right. The challenge with the procedure executor is perhaps poor at foreseeing future problems. Okay, so this is the procedure executor. So if I may, gang, understand whether you're in the option or the procedure program. Most people would have a little bit of both, all right? You won't have only one, option or procedure, but one or the other can be a little bit stronger. So if I may right now, gang, before I go into the next bit, how many of you can tell me a little bit about your programs? Okay, so did I just see this in the chat box, gang? I'm going to just show this. I can't see your chat box at the moment, but just type it in. How many of you feel that you are more a sameness versus difference? And that's okay. Just based on what I've shared, are you more a sameness or running a difference program? Which one? If you're more sameness, type sameness. If you're more difference, type difference. Okay, I'll look at your answers in a bit. All right, okay, good. So type it in, gang, just what you think of yourself. All right, cool. No right and wrong. Okay, all right, and you've done that. I want you to go to this one. Okay, just for a bit. How many of you think that you're more an options, a little bit higher than procedure? You're very good with coming up with alternatives. I'm very good at solving problems on the spot. Versus procedure type, if you're a little bit high procedure, you need to have the details, you need to be able to see the steps, and then you can follow those steps. All right, very, very good at managing and complying. All right, going into the details. Okay, so if you're that, write that. Okay, but likely you have a little bit of both. Okay, all right, so can I just go into the chat box here, gang? Rakesh, all right, I'm just seeing all this. You guys are great. CY, wartime CEO and peacetime CEO. I love that. Oh my gosh, that's totally awesome. Rakesh, if you're difference, punch difference, Elin difference, more than sameness. Thank you. Punch option, Elin option. Wow, Rakesh got percentage some more. That's shut, man. I love it. Okay, guys, you get to see. Thank you, Rakesh. 70% option, 30% procedure. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. All right. So keep this coming. Now, why I ask you is that keep these answers and you can potentially identify your leadership intelligence later. So keep these answers. I want to see how well you know yourself. Okay. All right. So hang in here for a bit. Good. Thank you very much, gang. Let's continue. All right. Okay. All right. So why is this important? It's because I'm going to share a very powerful and important learning. And a lot of people don't talk about leadership behavior and intelligence in this way. So I want you to pay very, very powerful attention because in business, ladies and gentlemen, we start and we stop things. You know, we start and we conclude. We initiate and we finish, right? So be it a project, be it a campaign, be it a product research, start and conclude. So that's why I use this, that in business, we have different phases, and in the different phases of business, we are doing different things. So when I start something, I'm in the planning mode, I'm ideating, I'm creating ideas, and I'm creating, all right? So I'm in that creative mode. When I'm in execution, I am in a compliance mode. I'm in a follow through, all right? We've created a plan, just follow it through. Detail monitoring, hanging on to the details. And then I go into a review. After the execution phase, I go into review. I would evaluate, okay, what were the things that I did well? What were the things that we did not do well? We go into investigation, all right? That's the review phase. And of course, we get to the end where conclusion is motivating and inspiring. The challenge here, ladies and gentlemen, is my question to you is, can I be the same person for all these phases? Now, this is very powerful because if I may, there are some people that are very, very good at ideating. How many of you know I'm talking about? Because they're so good at ideating, when they get into execution, they're still ideating. They go into review, they're still ideating. They go into conclusion, they're still ideating. So the ideating is so there is a very important intelligence here, because if you bring the same person into all these phases, that's where problems happen. And if I can, and this is something very important, because basically the different people that you're bringing into the different phases are your behaviors. Your behaviors are your programs. And if I may, your behaviors, your leadership behavior, the right program relies on the context. That's why I put two jars here. It doesn't matter whether you got marbles or you got sand or you got a liquid, you got water, or you got 1 cent coins, pennies, whatever content you have, it really doesn't matter, because it will still follow the shape of the jar, the context. So content doesn't really matter. The behavior is contextualized based on the scope of work, what you are required to do. So if I may, behaviors and programs are contextualized based on number one, what do I need to do? What is the type of job? What is the environment? Who are the people around me? What are the results that are required? So this is very powerful, because a lot of people tend to say there are bad behaviors, there's wrong behaviors, but this is the thing. I want you to remove that language. There's no wrong behavior, okay? There's just only, and I want you to write this down, there is only a mismatch of behavior for a resourceful context. So if I may, there is no wrong to being sameness, slower. Just the question is, when are you playing your sameness program? When are you playing your difference program? If you're a high option, okay, when are you playing, implementing your option program? When are you implementing your procedure program? There is the right program for the right context. Depends on what you're doing. So if I may, what is true effective leadership? Okay, and a lot of people don't realize this, because a lot of people say, all right, you gotta apply, you gotta play to your strengths, you gotta play to your abilities. The answer is yes, but the answer also means if you are truly effective as a leader, you also know how to apply this thing called flexibility. So in your programs, you are flexible versus autopilot. How many of you know what I'm talking about? If you look at the programs, and the graphs are very, very big, and we can show you some of these. We can show you in your leadership intelligence programs, your mental maps. We can show you how some people are autopilot with some of their programs. I'll give you an example. Some business owners are so autopilot, okay, hear me out, with two types of programs, okay, with global versus detail. Now, this is their information size, global versus detail program. So some people must consume the global program. That means they must see the big picture. And then there are some people that must see the detail, okay, the details, all right? A lot of business owners are global and they pride themselves with being global because the details, I leave that to my staff. But how many of you realize the problems that happen in business, in partnerships, in losing money, getting the quotation wrong, the invoices, stuffing up, all the failures happen in the detail. And that's the part where a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs and leaders fail to switch into a detailed program. And that's where they struggle because they say, wait, hang on. As a leader, I got to stay on the big picture. But where are the failures, the mistakes happen in the details? So when we understood this, the challenge is not being global or detailed. It's about the flexibility of the programs to be able to lead in which context. Does that make sense, guys? So this is powerful because this leads to choice. This leads to choice. I am no longer one person that fits one role, but I'm someone that's flexible. So here in Gang, we just have enough time to be able to run three. So we've gone through the speed to action, initiate, wait, reflect. We've also gone through the styles of change, which is sameness and difference. We've also gone through number 3, options and procedure. And we need to uncover the rest of the 8, yeah, from information size, how you make decisions, what is your motivation, are you a peacekeeper or you're a challenger, how you build trust with people, what is your acceptance time frame to trust people, your motivation for success, number 10, what is your motivation for success, are you the visionary, are you somebody that's the risk manager, and how do you handle pressure and stress? Number 11 is really powerful. Would you handle stress and pressure through emotion or with logic? Okay, so all of these are so powerful. These combine creates your leadership potential. And if I may, these are very powerful because when you understand yourself, you know the team members that you need, you also know how to create better results in your business. Okay, so this is very, very powerful, if I may. But I want to share a very, very important true case study. Okay, is a lady that we've coached for 4 years now. All right, so she's got an amazing team of people. So she grew from like 12 to 15 people all the way up to 35 people. So she's in wedding events, of course, during this period of time during MCO, she's quite affected. But if I may, during the good times, she was probably working 14, 16-hour days. She would be in the office till midnight. Typically, she has 6-hour team meetings, really long hours, and she's basically at the events all the time. And if I may, she has an amazing team there. And what I couldn't understand for the life of me when I started working with her, I couldn't understand, why do you have this many people in your team, but you're still working so long hours? You're still managing every client, you're still managing every event. What do these people do? And when I went down to it, she has all these people, their job descriptions are in place. In fact, they know their responsibilities. So how come you're working this long? So this was very interesting because this came down to a very interesting thing that we realized about her. And that's nothing external. The business is great. Things were working. It went into the leader herself. She had this constant need for peacekeeping. Her consensus program was very, very high. All right. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 92 or 93%. She needed to make sure everybody was happy. She needed to make sure everybody agreed, you know, and how many of you know what I'm talking about? It's actually not easy to have everyone agree with everything you do all the time, right? On top of that, she had a lack of trust with the team. This came out a couple of months later and she realized, actually, I find it very difficult to trust the team. So she felt guilty being at home. And when she's at home, she needed to be in the office. And then she felt guilty when she's in the office. She feels she needs to be at home with her 4 kids. So she was in between a rock and a hard place, all right? So, and how many of you know I'm talking about? That started to take a toll on her health. So after we worked with her, she took back her weekends, which was Saturday and Sunday. That's a really hard thing for her to do. She was picking up the kids from school 5 p.m. daily. She reduced office working time by 28% and started going for holidays. That's great. But more importantly, the team was so glad they could step up, and the business owner got out of the way. So if I may, getting out of the way was something that she could have done. All the infrastructures were already in place. The business was there, the systems, the SOPs, the clientele. She's been in business for a long time, but she's been at this, and she keeps saying, I don't know why I can't get my team to do it. I can't get my team to step up. But the minute you get out of the way, they get there. So sometimes it's not just the business not having enough infrastructure, but it's also, look, is it in you? Can you step out? And that was one of the things that we worked with her. Because this is very powerful, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to share this with you. In order for us to have lifelong success, all right, it is two very powerful elements. And I'm going to show you a formula that has made a difference to me for many years of running my businesses. I want to share it with you. But before I share it with you, I want to ask you a question. How many of you have won a lottery before? If you've won a lottery, or do you know someone that have won a lottery before? Because every time I ask that question, it's like, if I won a lottery, I won't be here, lah, hello. So if you know someone that has won a lottery before, yeah? If you know someone that has won a lottery before, let me ask you, the person that won the lottery, you know, are they rich? The answer is, yeah, I mean, they've got cash, so they're rich, right? But are they wealthy? Okay. So this is a very important message across to leaders, yeah, as you create tons of success for yourself, all right? And success for me, the success, ladies and gentlemen, success is not just results, income, profit. You know, it's also outcomes, it's freedom, it's the ability to travel, it's the ability to continue contributing to those favorite charities of yours. You know, those are all successes. It's not just profits and sales, and it's not just that. And if I may, there are two very powerful elements that create that long-term success, because a lot of people think that it is about doing, because the doing part of being rich, having the money in your pocket, winning that lottery is just one part, and the doingness is very, very short term. What is the long term is the beingness. I'll give you another example. If you've been a vegetarian before, you know, and a lot of my friends are going vegetarian and vegan and pescatarian and all sorts. But if you're going vegetarian, is it hard to be a vegetarian? How many of you think it's hard? All right. If you think it's hard, type hard. Or you think it's easy, type easy. Okay. And I'll share with you my answer. Okay. Being vegetarian is easy. One day, 1 week, be vegetarian, no problem. But if you ask me to be vegetarian for 365 days or 5 years, it is so long term. What does that require is a shift. It is a shift in my being. It is a shift in what I believe, what is important to me. I can't just be vegetarian at a doing level for so long. I don't have that much willpower. Does that make sense? So why this is important? Because the be times your do equals have for long-term success, which is also why it is important to realize that our actions, guys, if you look at the iceberg, all right, this is the identity iceberg. The identity iceberg is this is a very nice little graphic here, but our identity iceberg, the top part of the iceberg, which is just a small little snippet, and the rest of it is so big at the bottom of the water, the top part, which is behaviors, actions, and decisions, are what can be seen by the naked eye. So if you look at AccuMatch, that behavior intelligence report that I showed you earlier, the one with 11 intelligences, those are your behaviors. Now, why I'm sharing this with you is that our behaviors, our actions are driven by what is below the waterline, which are our skills, what we're good at, our beliefs, what we hold true, our values, what is important to us, and our identity, who we say we are. And this bottom part of the iceberg is shaped by our environment. Now, what is environment? Our environment are our earliest part of our environment are our parents, the people we go to school with, our college buddies, university buddies, our colleagues. All of these become our environment that continues to shape and form those skills, beliefs, values, identity that are not easily seen. So if I may, this bottom part does drive the actions. I'll give you an example. If I believe, that I cannot trust people, right? That's my belief. Can't trust people, okay? What are my actions? Okay, now this is very, very powerful because if I think like that, I think cannot trust people, what will I get more of? People cheating me, people telling me lies, people. So the same old thinking creates the same old results. If I may, this becomes a downward spiral because the way you think, and I'm sorry that I'm using a negative belief because it's easier for me to show you. But if you have that sort of belief structure and that's how you look at the world, it will only reinforce more and more of those and hold it to be true, because your beliefs are how you look at the world and you create more of those results. So if I can, that is a spiral that you want to break. How many of you know what I'm talking about? If you keep running your business with the same thinking, same feeling, you continue to create those results. And it doesn't matter if you've been really successful in the past 20, 30, 40 years of running your business. Now, I know a lot of people that have challenges because they've been so successful running their business for so long and they're going, and suddenly I have these millennials, I have these generations that I don't understand. I've got digital marketing, content marketing that I don't understand, and I've suddenly got to change. So the same old thinking is suddenly irrelevant where I'm going, but I can't undo them. It is a cycle. So a lot of time, why our results are the way that it is. And one way that you can see you're in a spiral, ladies and gentlemen, is if you're seeing a recurring problem. It keeps happening. And when it keeps happening, how many of you know what I'm talking about? Sometimes, most times, the same recurring problem happens over and over again so that we learn it. And until we learn it, it goes away. So this is one way that you can look at recurring issues. Remember, we're the common denominator, and when it keeps happening in our business, people keep leaving, people keep complaining about something, they keep going back to that. What is it we're supposed to pay attention to? Okay, so this is very, very powerful, ladies and gentlemen. And before I complete this session and I'll go into some Q&A, I want to share with you a very powerful video. Okay, so let me just get to it. Bosses, if you feel you're being dragged around by other people's expectations of you, this is the time to be able to centralize, know what you're doing, and protect what you think is important to you. We'll be So those of you who want to know more about your leadership intelligence, you want to understand bosses, much more about yourself. And if you found this as something that is powerful, but not enough, I totally understand if you feel, oh, this is really chipping the surface of my iceberg. And if you want to know more, please join us. This entire session, this webinar is entirely sponsored because of a collaboration with Common Ground. Our webinar is on the 1st of October. If you want to learn how to lead and understand your leadership matrix, what lies below your waterline, the 8-part pillar, where we pull together your leadership intelligence and help you to drive and increase your motivation toward your actions and behaviors, all of that is inside our next session where we go on for longer. This is a bit of a short session, but we've decided to be able to show you part of the leadership intelligences. So those of you who are interested and you want to start avoiding those blind spots, you know, those mistakes that you can make by accident, and you want to start reducing that expensive steep learning curve. This is a very powerful program. So please come and join us on the 1st of October, Thursday at 2 p.m. And it'll go on for about an hour and a half to 2 hours where we teach you. And those of you who sign up today, also, again, a very special treat through our collaboration with Common Ground. Again, I'd like to say thank you, Natalia, for reaching out to us at the Spark Group Asia. A very special treat also, those of you who sign up today, we will actually give you a full checklist of the leadership intelligences that you saw earlier, the 11. I've only unlocked 3 today, but those of you who are interested and you sign up, this is a checklist that will be in your inbox by tomorrow morning. So you'll get the full intelligences and you can bring that along into this session where you'll be able to check it off. All right, so you get to learn more and more about it throughout the session. Okay, so those of you who are also interested to invite us or myself per se to come and speak in your platform, now everything's on webinar. This is also how Natalia reached out to us. If you're interested, we can come and do sessions for you, for your teams in your corporate or even your company or wherever you are, you've got groups. Please email us at talktome@maresaeng.com. I'll be very, very happy to come and share. Any opportunity to educate will be very, very pleased to support you. So please write that down, talktome@maresaeng.com. I'm going to leave you one final quote. For me, I love this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. A good leader inspires people to have confidence in the leader, okay? But a great leader inspires people to have confidence in themselves. The reason why I love this quote, gang, is a lot of people that need to understand their leadership intelligence are not people that are sick and distressed. No, don't get it wrong. You know, you're not confused or lack of confidence. No, a lot of people that want to understand themselves better, that take on leadership intelligence, they're already good. You're in a good space, and like it or not, you've probably been very successful with doing what you're doing, but you want to go to the next level. So it's good to great, as Jim Collins would say. So it's not about thinking I'm a bit distressed, you know, there's something wrong with me if I need to understand who I am. The reason why we need to understand who we are, we need to continue understanding and re-understanding, discovering and rediscovering, is because, ladies and gentlemen, our business landscape is never always the same. How many of you know what I'm talking about? In the last 20 years, things have changed. In the last 10 years, things have changed. For crying out loud, in the last 2 years, things have changed. So if I may, if you stay the same person, time moves and you either move with it or get left behind. So if I may, good to great is continuously putting that relevant leadership intelligence, bringing the right person into your landscape, managing the right people in your teams, bringing that right person, the right intelligence into your business and into your teams, right? So with that, just like to say thank you, and I am opening up for questions.
Thank you,
Thank you
Maresa.
very much. Thank you.
Anyone has any questions? Well, it was a great session. Loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you
Uh,
guys got any questions for me. Oh, wow. Okay. Definitely I have.
that was me.
when I ask people that, they say, yeah. If I did win a lottery, I would still be here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Easy. Thank you, Punch. All right. Change is easy. Thank you. You know what's hard is sustainable change. Keeping the change is harder because it requires a shift in who I am. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any questions, gang? If you feel comfortable typing it in, or I will just unmute you and you can just voice it out, or even we can unmute and you can just voice it out. That's good. Yeah. Rakesh, thank you. Great session, and it made me reflect. Thank you. Yeah, that's the whole intent. Thank you, Rakesh. Is sometimes these sessions are good. If I may, I want to thank Common Ground because these sessions are important because it makes us pause. Pausing in business is very important. Pause. Pausing is important because sometimes you're always on the go. We're moving so quickly. We are urgent all the time, and that when we don't pause, we don't get to reflect. We don't get to ask ourselves, is this really where I want to go? Is this really what I want? Is this intentional? And throughout COVID-19, there have been so many people that were attentional versus intentional. Attentional means a lot of things they just had to do. It was demands that were being made on them and they had to do it. They had to react. Versus pausing and intentionally asking, is this who I really want to be? Is this what I really want? Is what I'm doing beneficial for my business, for me, for my team? When you get to ask those questions and reflect, thank you. That's exactly what we want through these sessions. Okay, so thank you, Rakesh. Nice. And I admit it's not enough time. I hope it didn't feel like a roller coaster. Okay, Pash. Okay. I hope it didn't feel like a roller coaster. It's like I feel like a machine gun sometimes because there's so much I want to share within the hour.
But that was great, actually. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Few of the people that were today register for the 1st October, and yeah, get more participants.
Thank you. Thank you.
So no more questions for Maresa. I will just drop our websites on the chat, the Spark Group Asia and also Common Ground. So if you guys wanna get to know more about it, you can go on the internet and just search for it.
Awesome.
Anything else? Anybody? No, nothing. Everybody's so quiet.
Yeah, people are multitasking, yeah. But if you have any questions, please, by all means, just log on to our Facebook pages. Those of you who are not familiar, the Spark Group Asia's Facebook page. Like my page, Maresa Ng, M-A-R-E-S-A-N-G. I will answer your questions. So you may be too shy to ask it now, but by all means, just PM me and I'm responding to you right away. All right. So if that works for you, I'm very happy to do that. Ah, there it goes. Yeah. Okay. So yes, please do that.
Thank you so much, Maresa, and I hope we can work together again. And everyone, thank you so much for joining. Stay tuned for all Common Ground events that we are having. You can check them out on our Instagram page. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you for having me.
Around. Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye.